All right, you can begin.
All right. Um, what did I write there? Okay, so welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Solange Russell, and I'll be presenting chapter 6, Courage and Moral Leadership. Me and Anne Marie. So I'll be doing the first part, and then she'll be doing the second half. Okay, so moral leadership today. So what is moral leadership? Moral leadership is how a leader behaves, and that behavior should demonstrate superior values, self-discipline, and unselfishness. It entails setting an example for others about the rightness and wrongness of their actions. So these leaders should exemplify the practice of integrity, fulfilling obligations, never taking advantage of others, and serving as a selfless paragon. They don't just follow the rules and concern themselves with what they can do. They are obsessed with the question, what should I do? So a leader will think, what is the best course of action? Will my decisions be diplomatic? Will they be fair? Will they show compassion and understanding to all the parties involved? So being a real leader means learning who you are and what you stand for, and then having the courage to act on that. Leaders demonstrate confidence and commitment in what they believe and what they do. For instance, having a deep devotion to a cause or a purpose larger than oneself sparks the act of courage. Leadership has less to do with using others and more to do with serving other people. And yeah, you might be wondering, why would a leader want to serve others? They're the ones in charge, right? So if you help people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. So leadership is about getting things done with and through others. But we'll talk more about that later on in servant leadership. So placing others ahead of oneself is a key to successful leadership. Whether in politics, education, sports, the ability to look within, to contemplate the human condition, to think about what is right and wrong, to see what really matters in the world, and to have the courage to stand up for what is worthy and right is what it means to be a leader. Right? So, we're going to have a short story time. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. I'm going to ask a little bit of feedback, so pay attention. So, the first story, right? Years ago, I led a small team of threat intelligence analysts. I was still very new to leadership, and we had a complex project with a very tough deadline. We didn't make it. My boss had to break the news to the director. What happened during that brief changed my life. Instead of pointing the finger at me for my misstep in leadership, he took complete responsibility and found a way to paint me in a positive light. That event sticks with me till this day. This is how I want to lead. So, why do we think that story had any kind of input, any kind of impact? Because I think those situations are the kind that make you feel comfortable to learn and to make mistakes and knowing that you won't be penalized or victimized heavily. Having a supervisor who is understanding and compassionate makes your work life so much better. It creates a positive work environment, it creates trust among your coworkers, and it even makes you feel willing to go above and beyond. So y'all ever been in situations like that where maybe you had a leadership role and you messed up, or you made a small error? It could have been a big one, a small one, but you had to report to somebody and they completely went in on you and berated you and even embarrassed you in front of other people. Anybody experienced that kind of situation? Feel free to say yes. I know what I'm looking at to see hands, but somebody say yes. Okay, anybody? Okay, we're being shy, no problem. So yeah, so having a leader like that really demotivates you in the workplace. So these are kind of situations that really are kind of like eye-opening to see what a good leader actually is. And unfortunately, it's very rare sometimes in most organizations. Right? So story number 2. There was a man on a horseback who saw a group of exhausted soldiers digging a trench. On the side is their section leader who was just barking orders. The passerby asked why the leader wasn't helping his team. The leader said he was just in charge and tells his people what to do. The man decided to pinch in and help the soldiers dig until the trench was finished. After that, he approached the commander on foot and told him that the next time their rank prevents them from supporting his men, he should notify the top command and that he will give a permanent solution to it. The section leader then realized that the person he was talking to was none other than the historical figure, General Washington. So just for context, that the first American president, and he was commander of the Continental Army at that point in time. Right? So the moral of the story, the best leaders are eager to help and give aid to their followers. In the context of work, this might mean reaching out to the employees to check in and do actual work. They also adopt a progressive mindset instead of being attached to the idea of being in charge. So we all know how supervisors who aren't interested in helping, they only delegate. And they will see you drowning in work, and they'll see you stressed, and even hear you voice your complaints, but they won't dare help you. Maybe because they think they're better than you, because they're making a couple hundred extra, who knows? And unfortunately, that's a common mindset that most people have, and that is exactly what we strive not to be. Because we all know that person, and we all dislike them to a little extent, because they aren't a team player. And being a team player is very important in leadership as well. So some attributes of ethical leadership include honesty, justice, integrity, and respect. These traits dictate that an ethical leader needs to be a well-rounded individual. And these qualities help them deal with their positions and team members more fairly and create an all-inclusive work environment. And that's what we want. All right. So for this part, you'll need to respond to me. So what are some attributes you like in your supervisor? Anybody, feel free to say something. Say it in the chat, say it out loud. If you have a supervisor or a teacher, attributes that you like about them. Feel free to talk. Just say it.
Melinda, in a supervisor, I will like that particular individual to be honest and trustworthy, understanding, right? Those are serious traits, important traits to me for somebody who leading me in an organization.
Right, totally agree. All right, anybody else?
I would like them to be relatable and be able to connect with us so that we would feel comfortable around them.
Yeah. Right, very valid. All right. So for me, I had these three options here, these 3 points. So a supervisor who has empathy and compassion, who always has a positive attitude, and who has passion for the organization. So the last one was like, you might be wondering, why do we need passion for the organization? But these managers love the company they work for, right? They appreciate the organization's objectives and they understand the company's culture. They will easily be able to convey to their staff why it is a great place to work and get team members on board and contribute efficiently to the well-being of the organization, right? So we all know that we all had a supervisor or teacher that like hates their job. They just walk around bitter, like a bitter Betty, and that hate will trickle down the line and sinks into either the employees or the students, and it will make working for them uncomfortable, and then we'll tend to avoid that person. So having a supervisor or teacher that actually is passionate about what they do, or at least loves what they do and has a good attitude, will make the difference in a leader as well. I think empathy and compassion is important as well, because if you can't place yourself in your employee's shoes, you won't be able to lead an effective team. For instance, so for an example, right? You should know that a parent can't work overtime, or an employee going through a hard time might require temporary special considerations. And that's so common. So much people have children, and you have to leave like at 2 or 3 o'clock to go and pick up your child. So supervisors need to be compassionate and have that empathy to understand that, yeah, people have a life outside of work. When a supervisor is actually accommodating to the staff needs and is working with you, the employees in turn will be loyal to you. They will actually appreciate you more, and they'll be willing to go out of the way to help you because you help them. So as we said before, you help others to help yourself. So that's how it all ties back to each other. And of course, we want a supervisor who's happy. Supervisors who walk around the office every day with a positive attitude make the office environment so much better. so much more pleasant. And additionally, having a positive attitude is contagious. People who usually adopt the attitude of the environment and being positive is, people usually adopt the attitude of the environment, right? So if we stress and we vex, we all stress and we all vex. But if we all happy, we all happy, right? And being in a positive situation is a good attitude to adopt, right? So I have supervisors who, they'll work you hard, but they always have a joke, they always make you laugh, or they might buy you a snack, so just do something, just lighten up the mood, even though the work itself is stressful, but the supervisor has that personality to bring out the best in their staff, to make everybody feel comfortable. You myself are just buying you a snack, or they saying drinks on Friday, or just anything to liven up the staff and make them feel appreciated and make them smile. So we appreciate these traits in supervisors. Right, we could all agree with that. I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hey, where are we? How does leadership affect? Oh God, how do I change this? Okay, so how does leadership affect employees? So as we just said, leaders could either motivate you or demotivate you. Top leaders in particular are facing closer scrutiny in the light of recent unethical and illegal actions, right? So what's going on at the top will trickle downward through the organization and society. So when a leader fails to set and live up to high ethical standards, organizations, employees, shareholders, and the general public will suffer. Unethical and illegal behavior can lead to serious consequences for organizations, right? Oh, for one thing, companies have a hard time attracting good employees. And evidence shows that recent waves of scandals have prompted job seekers to go to great lengths to check out companies and their ethical standards. And yeah, we must see that kind of investigation and inquiries happening in these states, maybe, because we're looking for it in Trinidad, so we need the job regardless. And they question the standards. So more like I would say in the States or other countries, they would more question the ethical standards of companies and actually act on it. Here we might know that the company treating us bad, but oh well, right? And when current employees lose trust in leaders, morale, commitment, and performance suffer. And we all know this one too well. We have no faith in the company, they're treating us however, we gonna be lackadaisical or not really give our best. Just because, the company doesn't care about us, so why should we care, right? Right. So, dilemmas for management. Leaders face many pressures that challenge their ability to do the right thing. The most dangerous obstacles for leaders are personal weakness and self-interest rather than full-scale corruption. So leaders are also under pressure to cut costs, increase profits, meet demands of vendors or business partners, and maintain the image of looking successful. For example, right, story time. During the stock market bubble of the late 1990s, many leaders simply got caught up in the overriding emphasis on fast profits and ever-growing stock prices. So the practice of rewarding managers with stock options was originally intended to align the interests of the managers with those of the shareholders, right? Make money. And that caused basic human greed to get out of hand and during this period, right? And I would say we still kind of actively see this in today's society. Managers don't really care about what's happening to the junior staff. They're just interested in making profits, cutting costs, laying off staff, increasing prices. So they have some companies who are actually willing to make a stand and be the difference and consider their staff well-being, and have others who are just here for the money so they could get their bonus, so they could get whatever it is, incentive that their high-ups giving them, right? And most people want to be liked, and they want the organization to appear successful.
So guys, when I hear you.
You'll hear me still? You'll see in my screen. Did it disappear?
We now see your screen and we now hearing you.
Okay, great. What go wrong? So, in your opinion, that makes things stressful for us. Give me like due to
Solange, your Wi-Fi signal is breaking up.
uh-huh.
Your signal is breaking up.
Is
We're only hearing you a little bit. It's going in and out.
okay. 1 second. Let's see what I can do for that. All right, all good now? You'll hear me, you'll see in.
Yeah, we're seeing and hearing you. So hopefully it works out.
Yes.
Okay. Fingers crossed. We don't go through this again. So I was asking, right, I was asking for some feedback. What are some things that leaders do to make things go wrong in the workplace? So if anybody can give me an example of something that your teacher, your supervisors, anybody does that just, affect the work, makes things go, their attitude. All right, no problem. I'll answer the question for you.
I think you're breaking up again a bit. Still.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay, pause for
Yeah,
pause.
and again, she
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Wonder. Okay, 1 second, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so let's try again. If I start back breaking up, let me know. And I'll try to
Will
log
do.
in on my phone or something and use data.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah.
So, what leaders do to make things go wrong? Leaders signal what matters through their behavior. And when leaders operate from principles of selfishness and greed, many employees come to see ethical behavior as okay. So, at a company named Aaron, for example, senior executives were openly arrogant and ambitious for personal success, right? And they blatantly flaunted the rules and the basic standards of fairness and honor to achieve personal gain. As one young employee said, it was easy to get into and while everybody else was doing it, so maybe it isn't bad, right? Because some people just don't know better. They think because that's the culture, that's the norm, it's okay. And people are very impressionable, right? If we enter an organization, this is the standard, this is the culture, most people won't think twice or won't think twice and will just, and instead they will try to just play the game better than the next person. So the corruption will just be all over. They might not think that it's unethical, but really and truly it is, because like nobody's telling them better. Nobody's showing them better. Right? Unethical leaders are dishonest with employees, partners, customers, vendors, and shareholders, and they regularly fail to honor their agreements or commitments to others. Unethical leaders also frequently treat people unfairly, perhaps by giving special favors or privileges to followers who flatter their egos, or by promoting people based on favoritism rather than concrete business results. And we see this a lot too. The supervisor might have somebody who they prefer, who they line with, and they'll get all the opportunities to act, to do something, to act or to move up in the organization. And that's unfair because you could be the better worker, but just because your personality is not meshing, you're not any favorites, you won't get your chance. Right? And unethical leaders tend to take all the credit for successes. But they blame others when things go wrong. By taking credit for followers' accomplishments, failing to allow others to have meaningful participation in decision making, and generally treating people with discourtesy and disrespect, they diminish the dignity of others. They see followers as a means to an end. They show little concern for treating people as individuals or helping followers develop their own potential. Whereas ethical leaders serve others. Unethical leaders focus on their own personal gains and goals, right? So one primary way leaders contribute to an unethical and potentially corrupt organization is by failing to speak up against acts they believe are wrong. A leader who holds his tongue in order to fit in with the guys when colleagues are making like crude or offensive remarks to another coworker is essentially giving his support for that type of behavior. If a leader knows someone is being treated unfairly by a colleague and doesn't listen, the leader is setting the precedent that for others to behave unfairly as well. Peers and subordinates with lax ethical standards feel free to act as they choose. It is often hard to stand up for what is right, but this is a primary way in which leaders create an environment of integrity, right? To stand up for what is right. You know that your coworker is doing something unethical, they're being a little disrespectful. Speak up, say something, bring it to somebody's attention, right? So we are going to do a little true or false segment here. So I need participation for sure. Okay, so we're gonna answer some questions. Mostly true, mostly false. Mostly because everything not black and white, so there's always some little wiggle room. So first question. Overall, it is better to be humble and honest than to be successful and dishonest. What do you think? Mostly true or mostly false?
Mostly true.
Mostly true.
Mostly true.
Mostly true.
If you trust someone completely, you're asking for trouble. Mostly true or mostly false?
Mostly false.
Mostly true.
Right, this one kind of mixed because ideally you want to be able to trust people, but as a reality, not everybody's intentions are genuine, right? So a leader should take action only when it is morally right. What do you think for that one? Mostly true,
Mostly
mostly
true.
false. Yeah.
Mostly true.
A good way to handle people is to tell them what they like to hear.
False. Mostly false.
Mostly false.
Right? Because if you just tell them what they want to hear, there's no room for growth or anything there. If you don't want to step on their toes, if you don't want to, or if you're just saying what they want to hear, so you'll be in their good favors and you'll get your promotion and be a favorite, but really what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, mostly false. You need to be honest with people and pick them up wherever they're slacking off. So there's no excuse for telling a white lie to someone. Mostly true, mostly false.
True.
Mostly false.
Mostly false. I agree.
All right. Okay, next set. Most people who get ahead as leaders have led very moral lives. I think all our leaders so far have made extremely ethical decisions and have the best morals and virtues.
Mostly false.
Mostly false.
Right. It is better to not tell people the real reason you did something unless it benefits you to do so. The real reason you did something unless it benefits you to do so. Mostly true, mostly false.
I'll say mostly
You
true.
know, some people do things with ulterior motives. Mostly true.
Yeah, mostly true.
Okay. The vast majority of people are brave, good, and kind.
Mostly
I
false.
think based on your interactions. Mostly false. Not everybody have a good heart. Yeah, some people are just self-seeking, which is unfortunate. Good people are rare to find. It is hard to get to the top without sometimes cutting corners. Mostly true, mostly false.
Mostly true.
They always say mostly true as well. And the last one, it makes sense to flatter important people. Should be schmooze the boss. Mostly true, mostly false.
Mostly false.
I mean, I work in a bank with all these corporate people, so I have all these well-known people coming in. And unfortunately, we have to flatter these important people. We have to give them an extra good service, you know. And this talks about that's the reality of it. They're important shareholders, so we have to flatter the important people. And for me, I think it's not a bad thing. It just depends how far you go with it. Like if you're just being extra pleasant. If it crosses the line where you're being unethical or just distinct preferential treatment or it have lines. You just need to know the line that you're crossing with them. And then when you flatter them, you get whatever you need in return, business agreements. So I would say mostly true. Right. So how to act like a moral leader. Where are we? Where am I? Right, so qualities of ethical leadership, right? So y'all could just look through this slide. So we have different types of leadership. Well, not the different types, but different qualities. So an unethical leader is arrogant and self-serving, whereas an ethical one possesses humility, right? An ethical leader lacks courage to confront unjust acts, but the ethical leader shows courage to stand up for what is right. I'm not going to read all, but I'm just going to go through some. An ethical leader diminishes others' dignity, and the ethical leader shows respect for each individual. Unethical practices deception, and the ethical leader is honest and straightforward. Right? So, acting like a moral leader. How to act like a moral leader? Many leaders forget that business is about values and not just economic performance. Moral leadership doesn't mean ignoring profit and loss, stock prices, production costs, or any other hard measurable facts. But it does require recognizing the importance of moral values, human meaning, quality, and higher purpose. Right. So Henry Ford's century old comment seems tailor-made for today's poor ethical climate, right? Excuse my dogs. For a long time, people believed that the only purpose of industry was to make profit, and of course, they are wrong. Its purpose is to serve the general welfare. Despite the corporate realities of greed, competition, and the drive to achieve goals and profit, leaders can act for moral values and encourage others to develop the use of moral values in the workplace. The single most important factor in ethical decision-making in an organization is whether the leader shows a commitment to ethics in their talk and especially in their behavior. So, as a leader, you can drive fair to the organization so that followers feel comfortable reporting problems or ethical abuse. You can establish clear ethical policies, reward ethical conduct, and show zero tolerance for violations, right? So where are we? Right. So these are the steps on how to act like a moral leader, right? So the first one, in no particular order, to develop, articulate, and uphold high moral principles, focus on what is right for the organization as well as all people involved. Set the example you want others to live by. Be honest with yourself and with others. Drive out fear and eliminate undiscussables. Establish and communicate ethics policies. Develop a backbone. Show zero tolerance for ethical violations. Reward ethical conduct. And treat everyone with fairness, dignity, respect, and from the lowest to the highest level of the organization. Do the right thing in both your personal and professional life, even if no one is looking. So if leaders cut corners or bend rules when they think they won't get caught, they and the organization will ultimately suffer the consequences. Moreover, leaders realize that what they do in their personal lives carries over to the professional arena. Leaders are a model for the organization 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So here's a quick story of Mike Price, who was fired as the University of Alabama's football coach even before he coached the game. Right. So this is sorry for Price, right? While in Florida participating in a golf tournament, Price spent hundreds of dollars on drinks and tips for exotic dancers, spent the night with women other than his wife, and ran up $1,000 room service bill. The university administration fired Price at a clear signal that boys will be boys mindset in the athletic department would no longer be tolerated. A visible leadership position entails the responsibility of conducting one's personal and professional life in an ethical manner. Leaders build ethical organization by demonstrating the importance of serving people and society. And in this case, as well as winning football games and increasing business profits, right? So it is extremely important to be mindful of your actions in and outside of work, because morals and values are embedded within a person's core, right? So if a person tries to fake being an upstanding leader, one way or the other, the facade will eventually drop. Right? So you need to genuinely live a life with high morals and values, have good virtues, be disciplined, be honest, because then that would translate into your work life. And it won't be fake, it won't be forced. Decision making will be easier, because you just know right is right, wrong is wrong, and you have the empathy and compassion to do better and to make good decisions. Right? So becoming a moral leader now. Right. All leadership practices can be used for good or evil, and thus having a moral dimension, right? Leaders choose whether to act from selfishness and greed to diminish others, or in ways that serve and motivate others to develop. Leaders choose whether to act from selfishness and greed to diminish others, or in ways that serve and motivate others to develop their full potential as employees and as human beings. Moral leadership is about distinguishing right from wrong and doing right. Speaking the just, the honest, the good, and the right conduct is its practice. Leaders have great influence over others, and moral leadership gives life to others and enhances the lives of others, right? Immoral leadership takes away from others and just enhances that person's alone. It doesn't spread to everybody else. An example of immoral leader is like Hitler, for instance. Right. So, I'm going to pause for a call and drink water because I've been talking for long. So 1 second. Okay, moving on. The 3 circles of moral courage. So moral courage exists at the intersection of 3 domains, right? A commitment to moral principles and awareness of the dangers involved in supporting those principles and a willingness to endure the risks. So we're going to explain these circles. So the first one, principles. When faced with a choice, leaders can assess the situation to determine whether it requires moral courage and then determine the specific values that need to be upheld. The first step is behaving with moral courage is to focus on 1 or 2 key values that fit the situation, right? So for example, a human resource manager at a manufacturing company in a small rural town noticed some other expenditures while working on the annual budget and discovered that the boss has charged champagne for his daughter's wedding to the company. The manager knew her job would be on the line if she brought her concerns into the open, but her commitment to principles of fairness and honesty compelled her to act. So, which means she went to tell the boss that you really shouldn't be using the company for your personal gain. Right? But telling the boss those things would have you feeling a little uneasy because they could retaliate against you, which is wrong, but it happens. So the second one is danger. The second key to moral courage lies in accurately assessing the degree of risk. Leaders need to carefully consider what the potential negative consequences of their actions might be and make a conscious decision that standing up for their convictions is worth the risk. In addition, leaders don't want to overestimate the risk, which could make the action seem like a mere bluster and bravado. Right? So all decisions have a risk. So you just need to consider what is the risk and how detrimental it is, if it even is that dramatic or not. And the third one is endurance. This is where the rubber meets the road. A leader can understand what key values are at stake, assess the risk involved, and believe in upholding moral principles, yet still lack the courage to act. Leaders need confidence to move from the contemplation stage to action, and to be willing to endure the hardship that moral courage requires. A leader can find his confidence in several areas, such as like their experience and their skills, their character and values and virtues that sustain them emotionally, maybe through spiritual insight or faith in a higher power, and their gut feelings about what is the right thing to do. Right? So there are 3 levels of personal moral development. A leader's capacity to make moral choices is related to the individual's levels of moral development, right? And there are 3 levels: pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. Right. So the first stage. At the pre-conventional level, individuals are egocentric and concerned with receiving external rewards and avoiding punishments, right? They obey the authority and follow rules to avoid detrimental personal consequences or satisfy immediate self-interest, right? The basic orientation towards the world is one of taking what one can get. Someone with this orientation in a leadership position will tend to be autocratic towards others and use their position for their personal advancement. So at level 2 now, the conventional level, people learn to conform to the expectations of good behavior as defined by colleagues, family, friends, and society, right? People at this level follow the rules, the norms, and the values in corporate culture. If the rules are to not steal, don't cheat, don't make false promises, or violate regulatory laws, a person at the conventional level will attempt to obey, right? They adhere to the norms of the larger social system. Not bad. So that's a good stage to be at. And a principal level, so stage 3. At the post-conventional level or the principal level, leaders are guided by internalized set of principles, universally recognized as right or wrong. People at this level may even disobey rules or laws that violate these principles. These internalized values become more important than the expectations of others in the organization or the community. A leader at this level is a visionary. They're empowering and committed to serving others and a higher cause. Right. So most adults operate at level 2 of moral development, and some have not even advanced beyond level 1. So they say only about 20% of American adults reach the 3rd post-conventional level of moral development. Although all of us have the capacity to do so, not many actually strive to reach that stage or have, as we said before, the endurance to do it. They need to have the courage to act to reach level 3. So people at level 3 are able to act in an independent, ethical manner, regardless of expectations from others inside or outside the organization, and despite the risk to their own reputation or safety. Because, making the right decisions means that you might step on some people's toes and offend people because you're changing the way that things are. And that could make people dislike you, and you don't really have a fan club anymore. But somebody will notice that you're doing the right thing. Somebody will appreciate you. You will see your way in life. Good karma will come back to you. So we all strive to make ethical, moral decisions. Right? So impartially applying universal standards to resolve moral conflicts balances self-interest with a concern for others and for the common good. Research has consistently found a direct relationship between the higher levels of moral development and more ethical behavior on the job, including less cheating and a tendency towards helpfulness to others and reporting of unethical or illegal acts known as whistleblowing, right? So leaders can use an understanding of these stages to enhance their own and their followers, to enhance their own moral development as well as their followers, and to initiate ethics training programs to move people to higher levels of moral reasoning. When leaders operate at level 3 of moral development, they focus on higher principles and encourage others to think for themselves and expand their understanding of moral issues. So my last question for my presentation is, what level do most of y'all think you're at? Level 1, 2, or 3? You think you can make decisions without needing guidance? You just know right from wrong, and you'll do it even though nobody else is watching? Are you at level 2 where if the rules say no cheating, no stealing, or whatever, you're going to follow them? That's no problem. Or you're just at level 1 where you're just trying to avoid punishment and just not really a leader? What do y'all think? Feedback. Maybe like 2 people. What level y'all think y'all at?
Conventional.
What you said?
I think I'm at the conventional level.
Okay, lovely. I would say that I'm moving over to the principal level. Because again, working in the bank, they really try for the employees to have a lot of integrity. And we really are exposed to a lot of sensitive information that could test your integrity levels. So I think I started at conventional, and now I'm kind of working my way up to level 3. All right, so that is it for me. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And now Anne-Marie is going to do her part for servant leadership. And I am going to stop share. All right. Cool. Thank you for the clap.
Guys here?
No, I don't hear anything on my end.
No.
Whatever it is still trying to load.
Seen anything now?
We're seeing a screen that says leaving.
What about here? That's
Stop sharing and try that again.
okay.
Okay, we've seen something there now.
Okay. Right, all. We're presenting on servant leadership. What is a servant leader? A servant leader is a servant first. It begins with a natural feeling that one wants to serve, as opposed to wanting power, influence, fame, or wealth. I know most of us will have encountered that during our work experience. Not much servant leaders, well, in my opinion, we do come across. Most people like power and fame and also the wealth. I'm not sure for you guys, but from my experience, I don't really come across much servant leader. So we're going to get in much more deeper into what is a servant leader. 7 pillars of a servant leadership. This person is a person of character. The first pillar emphasizes the importance of integrity and moral character in a servant leader. Leaders with strong character are trustworthy, honest, and consistently act in alignment with their values. They also put people first. Servant leaders prioritize the needs and well-being of their team members. They focus on developing and empowering their employees, ensuring their growth and success at the forefront of leadership decisions. They are also a skilled communicator. Effective communication is a crucial aspect of servant leadership. Leaders should be active listeners, practice empathy, and foster open and transparent dialogue with their team. Compassionate collaborator. Servant leaders are compassionate and collaborate in their approach. They encourage teamwork, actively involve their team members in decision making, and promote a sense of community within the organization. They also have foresight. This pillar highlights the importance of vision and long-term thinking. Servant leaders have a clear vision of the future and work to align their team with the organization's mission and values. They are also system thinker. Servant leaders understand the interconnectedness of the organization's systems and processes. They consider the broader impact of their decisions and actions on the organization as a whole. They are also ethical decision maker. Ethical decision maker is a fundamental pillar of servant leadership. Leadership consider the ethical implications of their choices and prioritize the greater good of the organization and its stakeholders. There are also 10 principles of servant leadership. First is listening. Some leaders do listen and some again don't. But listening is a key principle in a servant leadership. One of the best servant leadership examples comes with actively listening to team members and stakeholders. Leaders seek to understand their perspectives, concerns, and aspirations, creating an environment where everyone's voice is heard and valued. They also have empathy. One of the most have servant examples. Imagine a leader who can put themselves in other people's shoes, truly understanding their feelings and experiences. This leader shows compassion and cares about their team members and well-being. There also is awareness. Servant leaders know themselves well, including their strengths and weaknesses. They're emotionally intelligent and helps them relate to their team and make better decisions. There's also healing. Healing ability is also among the best servant leadership examples. When conflict arises, a servant leader addresses them with empathy and kindness. They foster a sense of unity, helping their team heal and move forward together. There's also persuasion. Instead of bossing people around, this leader inspires and motivates through their passion and vision. They use persuasion, not authority, to unite the team around common goals. We also have foresight. This is the ability to see beyond the present and anticipate future challenges and opportunities. They have a clear vision of where they want to lead their team or the organization, enabling them to make strategic decisions with long-term impact. They have thinking ahead, which is also conceptualization. A forward-thinking mindset and proactive other great servant leadership examples. They anticipate challenges and opportunities, making strategic decisions that benefit the organization and its members in the long run. They also have the commitment to growth. Their decisions to personal and professional growth are good servant leadership examples as well. When leading by example, they encourage your team to have opportunities to learn and develop. Also have stewardship. Another servant leadership example calls for a servant attitude. They act as a caring steward, ensuring the company's values are upheld and considering the long-term impact of the decisions. Also, building community. They prioritize, create a supportive and collaborative work environment where team members feel valued, included, and connected to a shared purpose. Here are some pros and cons of a servant leader. Some of the pros will be increased trust and autonomy across the organization, customer satisfaction and loyalty, higher employee engagement, improve employee confidence in decision making, a strong leadership pipeline. Some of the cons are time consuming to implement across an organization, confusing and unforgettable for employees and leaders accustomed to other leadership styles. A lack of clarity about form authority can cause conflict and misalignment. Some employees may try to exploit or take advantage of a servant leader. Reflection time. I want you guys to think about a situation in which you were in a formal or informal leadership role in a group or organization. Imagine using your personal approach as a leader. So one of my questions will be, my actions meet needs of others before my own. Do you think that your action meets the needs before your own as if you were in a role of a leadership? Okay. Do you all like to consult with other people before making decisions, or do you like to go and make your decisions on your own and whatever come out of it, come out of it? What would you say you will do in situations like that?
I'd consult with the group.
Yes, that is what I was good. That is good also. I know some people, they don't care. Their decision is their decision. That is final. That are some leaders. That is their approach. Do you all try to learn the needs and perspective of others?
Yeah. Sometimes, yes.
Okay, great. Do you believe in giving credit and recognition to others where it is valid, or you just overlook employees if they do good and they just don't care, you just move along your day as nothing happens?
Give credit.
Very good. So by answering a few of these questions, you may be able to tell what type of leader you are. And once you truly answer the questions from deep within, you'll be able to tell what type of leader you are. Here are some examples of servant leaders. I know some of you guys may be familiar with these faces here. These are some of the servant leaders that I came across to make examples of, because they put people first before their own. Even some were assassinated during the process of trying to fight for the better of other people rather than their own. Where I also put Mr. Ian Robertson here because he would have been mentioned as a servant leader for Trinidad and Tobago because of the 1919 coup. They would have listed him as a servant leader. Do you have any other examples in Trinidad that I may have missed that you guys think is a servant leader in Trinidad that you will recommend to be a servant leader? Okay. I wasn't too sure, but I was thinking Eric Williams. I was thinking he could have been a servant leader as well, because he kind of fight for us to get independence. He was one on my mind as well for a servant leader. We also have the Mahatma Gandhi. Most people should be familiar with Mahatma Gandhi. Also Martin Luther King, who fights for our rights. We have Abraham Lincoln. We also have Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa. They all put themselves last and put other people first in believing and fighting for what is right. So this is just a few examples of servant leadership. I also came across a movie, and this is a true based movie. Her name is Stacey Bass. She was a teacher for homeless children, and she put their needs before hers. Before hers, they were homeless, they didn't have school. This was like in 1987. So she created a space for them to learn and a learning environment. I just uploaded the clip. It's be on the Blackboard for you to just have a look at it. Like, it may interest you to watch it, but it was really a positive movie.
Does it have audio?
Right, so this was just a little clip I put here for you guys to see, but she truly demonstrated servant leadership values. She endured plenty struggles trying to get this school up and running, and there was a success at the end. She put those sharing needs before hers. This is just a typical example of what a servant leader does. Leadership courage. Leaders who have courage are those who dare to lead by example, who can make difficult decisions and act accordingly, even when the outcome is not certain. They are those who are willing to take risks, to do new things, innovate, and are willing to fail. I know courage is a big thing for most of us because we sometimes think that we might fail and not try to do something. But at the end, it really doesn't work out. We need to try and at least fail and try again. I know we keep hearing that all the time, but somewhere deep down inside, we still doesn't, for some reason or the other. Very few of us take the leap and develop the courage. What is courage? Courage is a Godward strength of soul manifested in doing what is right and necessary, despite difficulty or danger. Many of us know courage can carry you through deprivation, ridicule, rejection, and enable you to achieve something about you that you care deeply for. There are times when you try to do something, as I was saying, and it may be rejected. It may not feel good, so you may not want to try it again. So all of these things prevent us from doing it all over again. But as we know, we cannot give up. I mean, as I said before, you have to try. And it's something that we should also pass on to our future generation. We must try. Courage is both a moral and practical matter for leaders. Consider this. Risk must be taken because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. Those who risk nothing, do nothing, and have nothing. They may avoid suffering and sorrow, but cannot learn, feel, change, grow, or love. Chained by their certificate, they are slaves. They have forfeited their freedom. Only one who risks is free. What do you guys think about these things with taking risks? If you don't take risks,
Yeah, I agree with all of those terms. In case of taking risks, it is true if you don't take risks, nothing will happen to you. You wouldn't achieve nothing. So I agree with them.
perfectly said. I agree as well.
Yes, agreed.
What does courage mean? Courage means accepting responsibility. Courage often means nonconformity, pushing beyond the comfort zone, asking for what you want and saying what you think, fighting for what you believe. I'm just going to explain them a little more. How does courage apply to moral leadership? Acting like a moral leader requires personal change to practical moral leadership. Leaders have to know themselves, understand their strengths and weaknesses, know what they stand for, and often be nonconformist. Opposing unethical conduct requires courage. Whistleblowing means employee disclosure of illegal, immoral, and unethical practices in the organization. Finding personal courage. A leader can find personal courage by committing to something they deeply believe in. They can welcome potential failure as a means of growth and development and build bonds of caring and mutual support with family, friends, and colleagues to reduce fear. Believing in a higher purpose. Courage means easily when we fight for something we really believe in. Leaders who have a strong emotional commitment to a larger vision or purpose find the courage to step through fear. Draw strength from others. Caring about others and having support from others is a potent source of courage in a topsy-turvy world. Love is a strong ingredient of courage because it makes us willing to sacrifice. Welcome failure. When people accept failure and are at peace with the worst possible outcome, they find that they have fortune to move forward. Leaders know that failure can lead to success and that the pain of learning strengths individuals and organizations. harness frustration and anger. If you have ever been really angry about something, you know that it can cause you to forget about fear of embarrassment or fear that others wouldn't like you. In organizations, we can also see the power of frustration and anger. This is the end of my presentation. I just want to thank you guys for listening from both Solange and Amory. Thank you so much, guys.